Are you prepared to evacuate your home? I bet you're not, because most people aren't. My name's Ross, and in this episode of Be Prepared, I'm going to take you through how to create an emergency bag. Now, if you have to evacuate because there's a bushfire, a storm, or a flood coming, what you don't need in those precious few moments is to panic and start looking for things that you know you've got, but you don't know where they are. Have them in your emergency bag. Now, I've got a bag here. You could have an old suitcase, cardboard box, plastic tub. It doesn't really matter as long as it fits in your vehicle. Or if you're evacuating another way, bus, public transport, friend, or walking, you need to be able to make sure you can carry it. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what it looks like, you're not winning any sort of design competitions. So we've got an old bag that we don't use for travel anymore, and it will do nicely. Most of this is going to be in our first category. Let's talk about the sort of things you want to put in here. So our first category is documents and knickknacks. Make sure those knickknacks are not too big, although we're going to break that rule ourselves straight away. I'll explain that in a moment. We've got in here passports. There are certificates, as in certificate of marriage, birth certificates, certificates of insurance, school, university qualifications. There's copies of some of these because the others hang on the wall. We've got photo albums. Now these are of people that are no longer around or from our childhood. They're actual photos that have not been digitised. So these are the sort of things to put in here. Your will, something else you might want to think about. Newspaper clippings. I've got some stuff from my grandmother about our family tree. She's not with us anymore. I cannot replicate that data. Once it's gone, it's gone. So go around your house and either put the original in here or put a copy. Okay, one or the other. Your original might actually be in a safe somewhere. That's great. Put a copy in your emergency bag. Now, knickknacks. Generally speaking, we can afford to lose it all. If I lose this shed and all the tools in it, and motorbike and the camping gear, and inside I've got knickknacks and all sorts of stuff, it can be replaced. That's what insurance is for. Some stuff can't. It has sentimental value. I'm not suggesting putting in your great-grandmother's Royal Dalton tea set. That's a little bit unrealistic. In our case, my wife is quite attached to this style, which is about 100 years old. So guess what? It goes in there. It's usually wrapped in a towel. But for today's exercise, it can just sit there. Don't tell her I just did that. The second category is clothing. Now, on the day you've got to evacuate, you don't know what you're going to be wearing. You could have been in the swimming pool. You could be out in the garden. You could have just come home from work. Who knows? But every member of your family should have a change of clothes. And we want to check this every 6 months, especially if there's young children who are growing or people in the house that are changing shape, they're getting fit, whatever the case may be. So, I always have a hat and a hanky. I've got an old pair of pants. I've got a little hole in them, but that's okay. They're old pants I don't wear otherwise, so it's not really costing me anything. Otherwise, these would have been thrown out. One jumper because it gets cold at night, even in summer. I generally have a short sleeve shirt and a long sleeve shirt. That allows for hot and cold weather. A couple of t-shirts. There we go. So I'm pretty much covered on the top and bottom. You can wear pants for days, doesn't really matter. 3 or 4 shirts on the top. You can wash one while the others are drying. I've got a couple of pairs of underwear. And here's the thing, I do have multiple pairs of socks because you can wear old clothes for days and it's a bit uncomfortable, but you know, it's okay. But if you have clean feet and fresh socks on, you can feel really good. And 1 pair of shoes. As long as they fit, it doesn't matter what they are. An old pair of sneakers will be fine because you could just be wearing flip-flops or sandals. You don't know that. So 1 pair of shoes. And depending on what time of the year. Now I have these in here all year round, but generally in winter I'm wearing thicker shoes anyway, so these can just be something I wear around wherever I'm going at the evacuation centre. So have these in there, and in this case these will sit next to our bag because they don't fit in the bag, and that's completely fine. On a catastrophic fire danger day, this bag and clothes sits in the back of the car, that's where it lives. Other days it sits near the back door, but on those days it's in the car, especially if we're not at home. That way, if something happens at home, we're 40 kilometres away, we're okay, we've got all our gear. The next thing is health and hygiene. Now, every one of your vehicles should have a first aid kit. If not, why not? Go get one, work out how to use it. It'll have band-aids, bandages, saline, something to take splinters out, cotton buds, all of that sort of stuff. At the very least, have one in your emergency bag. I like to also add paracetamol and ibuprofen. They're a couple of dollars at the supermarket. And antihistamine. As well as that, we're going to have our standard stuff. Toothbrush, they're cheap. Toothpaste, same thing. Some deodorant. We're also going to have razor blades. If you've got an asthmatic, make sure you've got spare Ventolin. If you've got someone with allergies who needs an EpiPen, put the old expired EpiPens into your kit. Even though they're expired, as long as the window here is clear, they will work. They're not quite as effective as the ones they're carrying with them, but in an emergency, they'll use that one, and you've got these as a backup. Because you cannot assume that you've got emergency personnel around you and the doctors can see you, because you don't know the nature of the emergency. Everyone just could be flat out. So you've got to look after yourself. Ladies, put a spare pack of pads in here. And if you've got young children, make sure that you've got some nappies, some disposable nappies if they're of that age. So have all of that with you, because you cannot assume the shops are going to be open, and you can't just duck down to Coles or Woolies and buy whatever you need. The next thing is communication. Now, we all take our mobile phones with us 24/7. However, if the mobile or cell tower is damaged or there's no power, they're not going to work. You should carry chargers, and making sure that you've got the right ones, whether you've got an Android or an Apple. You might want to carry a couple of these. Really, they're pretty cheap, and you can just pop them in there. Maybe even a power bank. These things are getting cheaper and cheaper. You can pick them up from hardware stores now for $5 or $6, and there's enough usually to charge a mobile once. However, if the towers are not working, your phone is not going to communicate. So, one portable radio. If you have one of these, along with a packet of batteries, which you should replace every couple of years, then you can zone in on the emergency channels and you can hear what's going on. You've got radio there, you can hear music, whatever, and with you've got young children who are very, very unsettled, that can help calm them down. So, a good idea, and these really don't cost very much, $10 or $15. You're not looking at anything special, just a basic one that you can just tune in with a knob, and batteries will probably cost you $10. Well worth having, and in an emergency, it may be the only communication that you have. Next thing, you don't know where you're spending the night, so a couple of torches, $3 each. The problem is most of them have rubbish batteries. So, one fresh pack of batteries. Every couple of years you can take them out and use them in the house and replace them. Okay, so you don't want these sitting in there for 5 or 6 years, because they won't be any good. Also, if you have USBs of data around the house, I pack them, I leave them in here. They've got photographs and things like that in them. And if you have to evacuate on the day, you want to grab your tech, which is things like laptops and hard drives, because that might contain data that's not yet on the cloud. So grab those on the day. The last thing is this. Cash is king. And I also have some emergency cash. It's not used for any other reason. It's just there in an emergency. Remembering, if the towers are down, your phone's not going to work, so you can't use your phone to pay for things. The ATM system's probably also down. So the only way you can pay for stuff is cash. Have some. Even if it's $20 or $30, might get you out of trouble. And that covers the basics. So in an evacuation, you grab your bag, you've prepared it, all the important stuff is in here, or copies of. You grab your clothes, which is checked every 6 months, so it all fits, one for each person in the house. And then you grab your 3 Ps. You grab your people, your pets, and your prescription medicines. And your prescriptions if you remember to do that. And you've pretty much got the basics covered. And hopefully, when this is all over, you can come back to your home and it's all fine, and we'll just put it down to a little adventure. Now, our next video is going to be about how to prepare for an extended blackout. Now, we have a reliance on renewables now, and the problem is when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing, that may be a problem, and we're seeing more and more brownouts as the coal stations are being closed. So that could be a problem, and it could be a problem even if you're in the middle of the city. Don't just think, I'm in the city, I'll be fine. Not necessarily. So watch out for that one. Anyway, as always, thanks for your time. I do appreciate a like and subscribe, but if not, I hope you enjoyed this video. All right, guys, thanks for your time. Until next time, stay safe. See ya.